For those of you that have been in church for a long time, you're going to chuckle at this. There are two women in the church that are kind of going at it. They're kind of fighting. They're kind of in disharmony. They're disgruntled and they're going at it. There's kind of a power trip between them, and they're trying to run the church. And so behind the scenes, they're kind of fighting to see who has power and control. And it's getting back to Paul because Epaphroditus is taking money that the Philippians are giving to Paul, and he's taking it back to Paul in prison because you need to feed prisoners there. The Romans don't necessarily feed prisoners, so Epaphroditus and Timothy are taking money back, and they're telling Paul what's going on. Well, Epaphroditus is telling them that there's these two women that don't like each other in church, and they're fighting with each other. So Paul, as a point of teaching, a teaching lesson, is telling the leaders, hey, tell Euodion, that's how it says in Greek, Euodia and Syntyche, tell them to just be of the same mind. Tell them to be in harmony. Tell them to get along for the greater cause of the church and for the community. Just tell them to get along. Tell them to put their differences aside and tell them to get along. Tell them to mature. That's what he's telling them. And I find it fascinating that Paul uses this word here, this word harmony, or to be of the same mind. This word is extremely powerful because in the Greek language, this word here, phronein, is used 10 times in this book, phronein. Phroneo in the Greek language means to think. There's a couple words in the Greek language that have to do with the mind. Nous is one of them. Phroneos, like schizophrenia, schizophrenios. Phrenos is the mind. Schizophrenios, my brother has schizophrenia. Schizophrenios, schizo is splitting. Phrenos is the mind. So schizophrenia is the splitting of the mind. Nous is another Greek word for the mind. Paul is saying here in this Greek word to be in harmony or to think alike. The Greek word is phronein. So he's telling Euodia and Syntyche to be of the same mind, to don't be fighting, to get along with each other in the church. Well, what's particularly fascinating about this particular Greek word is that Paul uses it in this letter to Philippians 10 times. Now, that may not be interesting until I tell you that Paul the Apostle uses this word to think 23 times in all of his epistles. 23 times. 10 out of 23 times he uses in the book of Philippians. That's staggering. Almost half of Paul's usage of this word in all 13 of his epistles, almost half he uses in the book of Philippians. That's how important it is for Paul for us to rejoice, because there is no other book that Paul talks about the ability to rejoice than in the book of Philippians.